How many of you watched Good Morning America? Anyone? Sweet, maybe you haven't heard my story. All right, so there's my parents do. There's a story on GMA this week of a little girl, Charlotte. She's 8, from Tennessee, and her mom died this last year of cancer. Mom had been battling brain cancer for a long time and finally passed away. So Charlotte had to go live with her sister Chloe. So she had to change schools. And so Chloe wanted to make it nice for her. Little Charlotte she wanted to throw a birthday party, not just so that she could have a birthday party and feel better, but because Charlotte had never had a birthday party in her whole life. Because mom had we're coming out of COVID, and mom had cancer. And so mom, if you're battling cancer, you don't have the energy to make all the things and get all this stuff. I mean, those of you who have ever thrown a kid's birthday party, it's a lot of work. It can be a lot of work. So 1, she didn't have the energy, and 2, she's like, I can't be inviting all these people into my house, bringing in germs and risking my life. So mom was never able to throw her a birthday party. So the sister Chloe really wanted to throw this little girl her first birthday party ever. And so she'd been arranging play dates and trying to help them have connections, because she's at a new school, she needs new friends. And so then Chloe sends out invitations to the whole class. And those of you who have kids know what it's like. You invite everybody, that way nobody gets left out. 1 person RSVP'd, 1. And Chloe's heartbroken. She's like, how can I have a birthday party with 1 kid? And so she, in desperation, she went on TikTok. And she had this video she put out on TikTok saying look, this is our situation. It's 1 to 2 hours of your life. Please, if you were invited to a birthday party, please go. It's, this, and she's like, the classmates know the situation, but only 1 person has RSVP'd. Well, you guys know how the internet happens. Sometimes 1 person sees it. This time, 9 million people saw her TikTok and went viral. And so the good thing about that is the people in that town and in that neighborhood really responded. A group of moms contacted Chloe, and because Chloe was trying to, on the sly in the garage, put together a balloon arch and do all the decorations and stuff. And so they put together all the decorations. They made a cake. A group of Jeep group heard about it, and they did. You remember during COVID the drive-by birthdays? They did a drive-by birthday, but as they drove by, they each gave her a little card, a little present. Kids came. She ended up having 25 or 30 people. A petting zoo came. There was a horse and a python. She ended up feeling so, little Charlotte ended up feeling so loved on that day. Her first birthday party ever will end up probably being her most memorable birthday party ever. The sister said, she's like, we need to get one of those scratch-off maps. We're getting so many cards in the mail from all over the country. We need one of the scratch-off maps so that every time we get a card from a different state, we can scratch off which state someone has responded. And I just love that people were willing to make this girl feel loved. And Chloe she says, it's really isolating to hear people say that they feel for you in your grief and they wish you all the best, and then never actually see it in person. Do I actually matter? Does anybody really care? Or do they just leave nice comments? But they do. They do. People mean what they say, she said. They actually do build relationships with people through a screen. They put their money where their mouth is, and they show up to a birthday party for an 8-year-old who's having a really sad day, and they change your life. And I just love that. I think it's easy. I get sometimes frustrated because I'll see people, on Facebook, someone will be like, pray for me, I'm having blah, blah, blah. And people, they'll put the little prayer hands, and I always think, are you really praying? Did you just put the prayer hands, or did you actually stop what you're doing and pray for that person? The cynical side of me is like, did you actually pray? But I think it's really easy to see that and be like, oh, prayer emoji, scroll, 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 and you just keep going. But that's not what we're called to do. And Chloe figured that's just what people did. They'd see and be like, oh, prayer emoji, and that's it. But people showed up. This group of moms were like, we can't let this happen. We're going to show up. The Jeep people, they showed up. The petting zoo people, they showed up. Because they're like, no, I'm not going to be a person who just says, oh, that's sad. I'll pray that things get better for you. I'm going to make things get better for you. And that's what we are called to. Like here at Brownlee Christian Church, like our thing is, may all who cross our paths feel the love, grace, acceptance, and all that stuff. Feel it. Not just like know in their heads that we kind of like them. Right? So I found some Bible verses to support because that's what I do. In John 15, Jesus is saying, my command is this, love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. And that one of the songs that Steph picked said, like, you're laying cozy in your bed and I'm out here freezing to death and I'm hungry. Won't you be the person? Won't you be the person who clothes me? Don't just be the person who says, oh, I hope things get better. Won't you be the person who gives me food? Won't you be the person who gives me a place to sleep? Jesus is saying, don't just be the person who says, oh, I love it. I love you, but I don't actually do anything to show you my love. John, he says here in John says, and this is how we know that what love is. Jesus laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. If anyone has material possessions and sees a brother or sister in need but has no pity on them, how can the love of God be in that person? Dear children, let us not love with our words or speech, but with our actions and in truth. And finally, we have James. I tell you, I don't think I could have been friends with James. He is intense. Like, if you read the book of James, he is throwing down the gauntlet at all times. He pulled no punches. He's, he cuts right to it. James says, what good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can faith save them? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says, oh, go in peace, keep warm, be well fed, but you do nothing about their physical needs, well, what good is that? And in the same way, faith by itself, if not accompanied by action, is dead. He's saying, look, we can't just say all the right words. We have to do the things. And that's not to say that we need to become, and I'm the kind of person, this will drive me to performance. Like, this will drive me to be thinking that I have to earn my way into heaven. It's not about that. It's about I should be so filled with the love of the Lord that I want to naturally pour it out on everybody else. I am like, it's kind of like when you go to a really great restaurant. You can't wait to tell other people, you should go to this restaurant. It's so good because you loved it so much. We should love God and feel his provision so much in our lives that it just naturally comes out from us onto other people. I love, and I know we've already kind of heard this story, but I'm going to tell it again because it's a really great one. You guys heard of like what McKenna did, right? McKenna's friend had a house fire and they lost basically everything. And McKenna could have just said, hey mom, will you send her $50? Or McKenna could have gone in her closet and found clothes she doesn't wear anymore and toys she doesn't play with anymore and given them to her. As a like, oh, well, this doesn't really cost me anything here. Instead, she set up a lemonade stand. I don't even know how many days she did it. For a couple days, she sat out in the heat and sold lemonade. And people responded. She was able to give her friend $1,000 to help buy, and that's got to buy some clothes and foods. I would think about if I lost all my wardrobe. Like, think how much it would cost you to have to go buy all that stuff again. I can't imagine having to buy my jeans again. Like, it takes me years to find good jeans. You know? But like, imagine losing all of your clothes, all of your pots and pans. Everything. All of your shampoo and your conditioner. You have to buy all that stuff again. And KK's like, I'm not going to sit back and just be like, oh, I'm sad for you. No, she's like, I'm going to let you feel what it's like to be loved by me in the best capacity I can do. And I love that. I love that she wasn't going to sit back and just be like, oh. She went and did something about it. And that's what we're called to do. We are called to be a people who make you feel loved. Okay, love is an action. It's not an ushy-gushy feeling. It's an action. Okay, like I don't say, oh, I happy you. Oh, I sad you. We say, I love you. It's a verb, right? That means it's an action word. It's not just a feeling. And so if I want to love somebody, I have to do something. Not just sit here and feel, and it's not like, oh, I'm going to let you understand my feelings. Oh, I'm not going to just explain my feelings. I'm going to get you to feel that I love you. When we love someone, whether it's in our family, whether it's outside of our family, that's an action. It's something we do. Like when I go home, my mom makes biscuits and gravy because that's how she loves me. She knows it's my favorite. Like this week, my dad with his back. The last big thing they needed to get done was this deck. So I went home and I helped him build a deck. I was busy, but I was like, this is what they need, and I want my dad, my mom, to feel loved by me. So I went home and I helped them fix a deck. Stuff like that. I didn't say, oh man, I really hope that deck goes well. I want to pray that deck goes well for you. Right? I went and helped them with the deck. And that's what it means to love somebody. It's not just be like, oh, I hope things go well. You got to get out there and do something about it. And that's what we are called to do. Our motto is help people feel loved. And they don't feel loved because we say, I love you. They feel loved because we demonstrate love to them. So my question for you to talk to God about, and it's a question I've been wrestling with, because I'm one of those people when someone says, oh, whatever, do you make people feel loved? I'm like, well, yeah, I do. And then I really think about it, I'm like, ooh, on my terms. I'm totally guilty of loving people on my terms. Oh, I'll come over when it's convenient to me. Oh, I'll give you out of the excess of my attic. Oh, I'll give you out of the excess of my savings account. Like, I definitely struggle with this one myself, right? So my question for you is to really ask God this week, am I allowing people who aren't just my family to feel the love of Christ? Does my neighbor, who drives me bonkers, feel the love of Christ when he encounters me? Does that coworker who drives me nuts, who I just want to avoid, and when I see them at lunch, I go have lunch in my office, does that person feel loved by me? Does that, my in-law, my crazy uncle, my brother, sister, who I just want to be like, ugh, does that person feel loved by me? So that is your challenge this week, to ask the Lord, do the people around you feel loved? And I'll leave you with this, I love this quote from St. Francis of Assisi. He says, preach the gospel at all times, use words when necessary. Are you preaching the gospel that Jesus loves people through your actions, not just your words? And all of God's people said, amen.